Meanwhile, Liverpool looking to bounce back after that defeat against Napoli in round 2 of the Champions League as they play host to Ajax at Anfield. This is what Klopp had to say ahead of that time. We had 4 or 5 days now of absolute truth. Not to knock the players down, just to make sure where we are now. This is the starting point for us to sort the problems together on the pitch. There was no pointing at each other. Napoli was the worst game we've played since I've been here. You have to understand why that happened. 8 out of 11 were absolutely below their level. The rest not on their top level, just a normal game. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it does make sense. And I'm sure it was a little stronger than that behind the scenes, but it's common sense. They know they were below the level of the players. They don't really need telling, but I think it needs addressing the individual problems within the game itself. You know, the people making the mistakes and the fact that the back line hasn't been marshalled in the same manner that it was from Virgil van Dijk, and he has to step up. The fact that the closing down from the front hasn't got the same intensity that it has during their really successful times, and that's put more pressure on the middle of the park and more pressure on the defence. So absolutely. But it's just talk, isn't it? It's not going to change until he sees it for himself on the field. I mean, it's all very well whacking Bournemouth 9-0, isn't it? When they're cannon fodder and their manager is out waving a white flag before he gets the sack. This is a different kettle of fish. Yes, Ajax have sold a few players, but they've started the season very well again. They're scoring goals for fun. And if Liverpool don't defend properly, and they certainly did not do that in Naples, they'll get beaten by Ajax.
Mario, you take a look at this team, and obviously they've got so much experience. How much do you need a manager over these 4 or 5 days, as you said, to tell you the truth, to tell you where you've been going wrong? Because surely they know, don't they?
Yeah, but you know what the thing is? I think the biggest problem with Liverpool is that everything was so automatically happening for them. You know, they had a great machine, and I still think they have it, so I'm not taking it away. But they had a machine of, like, I felt like a setup that everybody understood, and the energy of them and the high pressure was so, it was like almost watching Liverpool and thinking like, wow. Now it looks like the energy dropped a little bit. And I think that's their biggest problem, because they cannot produce anymore what they were producing before. As quickly as they can get that back, I think they'll look better. And I think that's the biggest problem for them.
Mario, you look at it from an Ajax perspective, they'll fancy going there and getting something, won't they?
Yeah, but you know, like, look, when you're a young boy, right, you go into Anfield, Craig knows too. When we turn up at Anfield, listen, you can be as confident as you want to be. But when you turn up in that stadium, it's a whole different ball game. Like, people can tell you about football. Oh, I know football. I played this there. But anytime I turned up in Anfield, it doesn't matter who I'm playing. They could be the worst team I'm facing, because Liverpool is in a bad form. But I still will be like, okay, it doesn't matter. I really have to be better than my best to get a win out of this game. And that's why I feel like Ajax, they play well, they're confident. The way they play football, we all know that, where they come from. They got some young players. I'm looking forward to seeing one player, exactly, is Kudus. Kudus is a young Ghanaian player that they brought over. And why I look at him is because he comes from a setup. You know, when people sometimes go at us and say, like, can you help us? Can you do this? Can you do this? He goes to a clinic in Ghana, sets himself up, plays there maybe for 6 years, moves to Denmark, and then gets squatted. Seen by Ajax, I mean, and then they brought him over, and then he really became some talent to talk about. So that's why I'm looking forward to see what he is going to do at Anfield.
I think this is the first time, though, in a long time that the Liverpool fans, I say a long time, we're not talking 10 years, but certainly maybe in 12 to 18 months, all right, they had the injuries that scuppered them a year or two ago, but it's the first time in a while I think the fans turn up really not knowing what they're going to get.
Yeah.
They really don't know. It's been so indifferent at the start of this year. They used to turn up and think they're going to... They might have got beat. I mean, defeat happens. But they generally knew what their team were going to be all about. And the swashbuckling, dynamic, going forward, smothering teams, pacey, fighting for every ball. You know, fullbacks chasing the ball down and getting supporters off their seat. I remember Robertson chasing from the left side to the right side once. The whole stand got up. They just don't know what they're going to get at the moment. They don't know if they're going to get a bit of that, or an organised team, or a team that's a shambles at the back. They don't know what the team's going to be, what the midfield's going to be. There's just so many variants at the moment within this Liverpool team. I think Klopp himself is searching a little bit, and there's, for the first time, a real lack of stability within this squad, within this starting 11. Obviously, if it gets Núñez off a suspension eventually, back playing regular, and they get a front three that's working together again, that's going to help, and that might filter all the way through the team. But at the moment, there's a lot of uncertainty when that team takes the field.
Let's take a look at the predictions that the boys have made for this tie. Liverpool are favourites.
That being said,
everyone's gone for 2-1.
Yeah.
I've gone for 2-2. I think it's going to.
You're a fence sitter.
Sorry, no, not really. I think it's going to be a draw.
I'm going to say
there's no Robertson, obviously. I think that could be a big factor as well.
Yeah, go on, Mario.
Dan, listen. You have to imagine, Ajax got Blind left, and that's probably against Salah. And I don't see Blind pacing out Salah. And on the right-hand side, they got a young boy called Renish. He's 19 years old. He's facing Diaz. Okay, those two balances is going to be a serious battle. I'm not saying Ajax is not in a good form, but imagine facing those two guys. Oh,
hey, Mario, you'll double bluff ways, and your Ajax isn't going to work. Are you just putting them down so much?
No, I'm just being honest. I'm just being honest.
What do you know? What do you know about defending at Anfield? Gab, you gone for 2-1 as well.
Dan, look, I'll take you, man. Gabby, tell us, please.
I mean, I think partly, you made the point before about Barcelona, who they faced, with all due respect. I mean, they had a big win against Heerenveen here and there. It's still the Eredivisie. They've still changed, half a dozen players from the summer. It's not all the guys who went to join Ten Hag. It's also people like Ryan Gravenberch, like Mazraoui. Just a lot of important players leaving that club. And I like to think, but most of all, it's not about Ajax. It's about Liverpool. I can't believe that the Mohamed Salah that we saw in Naples is the real Mohamed Salah. I can't believe that's the real Virgil van Dijk. I am expecting an emotional reaction, one of pride from these players. I think we would have seen it at the weekend if those games hadn't cancelled. Now they get to go back out there again in the Champions League. And I am expecting a reaction from the big guns to go and carry Liverpool through.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.